Hey everybody, welcome back. It is April 16th, maybe? 16th-ish. And we are getting ready to start the reassembly of Connor's Super M. As you can tell by the intro, we got a few boxes dropped off by Connor. And we don't have everything that we need, but we have most of it, so we're going to get done what we can. Goal is today, get the cylinder sleeves put in, get the main bearings put in, get the crankshaft put in, and probably pull in the camshaft bearings. And from there, we're pretty much going to be stuck because we still have to make fold-over locks for the front engine plate. We have to locate the thrust plate for the camshaft. That seems to have gone missing. So Connor's going to take a look at the farm and see if it's on the old camshaft still, and we'll go from there. Otherwise, we're going to have to do some moving of things. But before we start reassembly, let me where did I put it? It's around here somewhere. It's around here somewhere. There it is. Hard to find some things in the shop right now, but we got to give a huge shout out to Hans over at Tractor Hoarders. He had seen, well, I think he sees most of my videos, but he had seen the video where I talked about, you know, the filming equipment I use and everything else, and how I was talking about getting some wireless microphones, and Hans actually took the liberty to send us some. So we're going to try these things out today. I've never used them, obviously, and I'm pretty excited to do it because the microphone that's on here, I have to constantly turn around, and you know, it's directional. Even though it's advertised as omnidirectional, it's not, because if I'm facing away from it like this, you can definitely tell that there's a difference in sound quality versus this way. So we're gonna hook these up and get started on that. It's gonna be a good day, I think. I hope. Alright guys, well, we're out here. We've got everything set up. Hopefully you can hear me with the wireless mic. I see that the thing on the top is doing this, so hopefully you can hear me. I've got the puller set up. I've got the sleeves all pressed into place. Actually, the third, sleeve number 3, pressed almost all the way in by hand, but I got to pull it the last, inch or so into the block, which really isn't ideal, but I'm not going to complain. It's better than having to pull it all the way in, which is not a good thing either. So let's go ahead and start pulling. And for sakes of time, now you guys know that Squatch did phenomenal videos on his Super M, so I'm not going to go and remake what's already out there for good content. I'm not going to show the plastic gauging of the main bearings and the rod bearings because, quite frankly, it's time consuming, and I just need to move along to keep this thing going because I don't have that kind of time to, you know, stop and film and stop and film. I need to get this thing together so that we can make some progress on this. So let's pull this cylinder sleeve in and we'll move on to the next one. And my goal is to, hopefully I'm not talking too loud, but my goal is to get the sleeves in, the cam bearings in, the main bearings, and the crankshaft in. We can't put the camshaft in because we need the thrust plate that is off the old camshaft, and that's over at Connor's. So This one's pulling easily. I've already put some oil on the parent bores of the block walls. So really, it's just a matter of pulling these down into place and moving on to the next. And that's probably Connor texting me right now, actually. I'm going to switch this up. And for those that have watched my F4 magneto rebuild, my hand is fine. Got about an inch and a half to go. I mean, my hand is sore, but it's fine. Whoops, sorry about that. I'm getting close here, so just gonna check the top. Gonna check underneath here. Just a little bit more. All right. Be very careful as we drop it down into the next one. All right, we can jump to the next hole. One thing I was not, I mean, it is what it is, but usually when we order these Reliance kits, the piston rings come pre-assembled on the pistons, and the pistons are in the sleeves already. One thing I wasn't too, I guess I can't say I wasn't too pleased with, because it's just more work. It's just I was surprised to see that they weren't assembled. The rings came in a separate box and the pistons were inside the sleeves. But not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Okay, give it one more little turn. Feels good. Obviously we'll have to check it, the sleeve protrusion, but overall it feels pretty good. All right, moving on to the last sleeve. I didn't turn the camera on for sleeve 3 because we only had an inch to go, roughly, so. So we'll pull this last one into place and we'll be done with the sleeves. Well, we got to check the protrusion on the top, but other than that, we'll be done. I don't know if you guys can see the sleeve coming up the bore or not. Well, technically it would be down the bore, but since the block is upside down, it's coming up the bore. Okay, let's double check that one. Feels pretty good. I think number 2 probably needs to go a little bit more, but we'll have to measure it to know for sure. All right, let's keep moving. All right, guys, we've got all the sleeves in, and I installed the middle and the rear cam bearing off camera just to save time and figure out how all the tools work and everything that Squatch sent for us to borrow. So now it's just a matter of pulling in the front cam bearing. And I actually had to refer back to episode 17 of the Squatch 253 Super M restoration series. So thank you, Squatch and Senior, for putting that out, and also for sending not only the cam bearing tools, but their sleeve puller set. Now, I already had a sleeve puller set, and I had a puck made by Dave at Shop Time with Dave. Check out his channel if you haven't been there. But I was a little concerned when I pulled the old sleeves out, and it's always tough to, make things over the internet with dimensions over the internet. But Dave did a great job making us a puck. It was just a little bit concerning that it was a little too tight, so I asked Squatch if we could borrow his, since he had already made one for the Super M. So he was gracious enough to allow us to borrow it. Now I'm just going to check to make sure that the hole is lined up. I did make, there's actually 2 holes in this front bearing, but I did make some marks on the front side of the block here where this oil passage comes down, and then there's another one here that comes across. So I made some permanent marker marks there. I did the same thing on the middle bearing and the rear bearing. The middle bearing also has 2 oil holes, and the rear only has 1. So we only need to worry about the one on the rear. But let's get this apart here, and we'll make sure that the oil holes are lined up. Now they're not perfect. These holes aren't lined up perfectly, and they won't be. As long as 90% of the hole is lined up, that's all we need. Even when we look at these main bearings, I inserted the shells for the main bearings. They're not perfectly in alignment either. So as long as they're 90% lined up, you'll be fine. Always be very careful pulling these apart, just in case the bearing comes out. Get my rubber mallet here. Or I shouldn't say the bearing comes out, but the insert comes out of the bearing. Now we can just take our light and shine it through the opening. And this one looks good. So if we look through the oil passage, we should be able to see straight down through that hole with minimal interference, and we are good. So successful install on the cam bearings. One thing I want to pay attention or show you guys here is this rear cam bearing. The casting of the block had a pretty rough edge, so I just took a file and lightly filed that away so it was a smooth edge. And I had the same problem on the middle one. And seeing as how these bearings were in such rough shape when we took them out, I'm wondering if that had something to do with the bearings being in rough shape. Maybe there was, some type of galling that happened upon the installation of the cam bearings, because somebody had been into this engine before. So it could be that, there was some serious casting flaws that prevented those bearings from being installed without being compromised. So who knows, but we got the new bearings in, main bearings are in. So I think the next step is to install the crankshaft and see how that measures out. It should be fine because the crankshaft was just freshly ground. These are 10,000ths under bearings, so we should be fine with everything. But let's go ahead and move forward. All right. We've got the crankshaft ready to go in for the final time. I've already done the plastic gauging to check the clearances. Everything is good. So we're going to go ahead and set the crankshaft in. I don't have any assembly lube, but what I do have is 20W50 oil. And I think that's going to be plenty thick because it's currently snowing. So it'll be plenty thick. Let's get this crankshaft set back in place for the final time. Ooh, that is nice. Let's put a little extra oil on it. I mean, I put quite a bit on there already, but a little more won't hurt. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Ooh, that just glides on there. I barely have to even use a finger. That's going to be beautiful. And that oil is plenty thick. So, all right, we'll get the main bearing caps on and torque them to, I don't know, foot-pounds. Because I haven't looked in the manual yet. But I'm pretty sure it's, I don't know, 100-ish. But we'll double check the manual and then we'll torque them. All right, we're going to go ahead and torque all these down. And I was right on the money when I said 100 foot-pounds. So we'll torque them to 50 and then we'll go back to 100. Actually, we'll probably do it in 3 stages. 50, 75, then 100, just to be safe. And we'll rotate it after each sequence. Back to the front bearing. Oh, we got to move the light. All right. So there's 50. Oh, don't want to do that. All right, everything turns beautifully. You know what, I just forgot. I just noticed I forgot to turn it between 50, 75, and 100. But it turns beautifully. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this one. We got the sleeves in. We've got the cam bearings in. We've got the crankshaft and mains in. The next video, we'll wire the mains. And actually, we'll save that for when we get the pistons and rods in, which I'm not going to do until we get the camshaft in, because we'll need the room, more than likely, to get the camshaft in. And before we do that, I think we'll put the lifters in and the lifter rail in the side, which is just a piece of strap steel that prevents the lifters from dropping all the way out when you tip the block upside down. But everything is good to go, so it's turning out good so far. All right. See you in the next one, guys. Thanks for watching and thanks for wrenching with me. We'll get there, Connor.